And yeah, we're good. We're good.
Okay.
So, yeah. Hi, everybody. If you're watching this after the fact, this is the 6th story off stream that me and John have done. As picked by the viewers, because if you saw, I did a poll on my community tab. Firstly, if you wanted to see another one of these, and then secondly, what band. And Iron Maiden won at a landslide. That it won out of the 25 votes, it got 52%. So it was pretty nailed on, really, that we were going to do this one. So by this time, I guess everyone watching will know the drill, how we do this. Go through the decades one by one and go through the story and the history of this legendary heavy metal band, Iron Maiden. And yeah, no real introduction needed for them because they're just that legendary and that iconic. So yeah, hopefully if this one goes well, we might try and do another one in the future, because there's plenty of other bands that we can talk about. So yeah, let's just get straight into it. Let's just get straight into it. So the band started in 1975, and what we decided to do that I would cover the late 70s, their early period, and the 80s, and then John will do the 90s. I will do the 2000s, and then John will finish off with the 2010s up to now. And then to finish off, we'll have a little bit of a discussion about what we think about the future of the band. But we'll get there in due course. So, yeah, let's make a start with the early period of the band. So the band actually formed on Christmas Day in 1975 by Steve Harris, the bass player, after he left his previous group called Smiler. He came up with the name of the band from the film The Man in the Iron Mask, which was based on a novel by Alexandra Dumas. The title, he said, reminded him of the Iron Maiden torture device. So that's basically how they got the name. Although original members at the time, they were thinking of calling the band Ash Mountain, but then most of the members preferred Iron Maiden anyway, so they stuck with Iron Maiden. And that's it. The rest is history. So on the 1st of May 1976, they played their first ever gig at the St. Nick's Hall. And then they would take up a semi-residency at the Cart and Horses pub in Stratford in London. And then that pub would go on in decades to come. It would be renamed the birthplace of Iron Maiden, which I think is pretty cool. Pie face, Simon, how you doing? Right, okay. So yeah, the original lineup of the band was pretty short-lived. Vocalist Paul Day, he got fired from the band because Steve Harris said that he lacked energy and charisma on the stage. So he was gone. And then he was replaced by Dennis Wilcock, who was a Kiss fan, and he used to wear makeup and fake blood during their live performances. That would have been pretty crazy to see. Just imagine Iron Maiden doing that now with Bruce Dickinson.
That's funny. I wonder if there are any videos of that.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool to look that up and see if you can find that somewhere, because that would be pretty mad to see. Good. That's good. Yeah. So Wilcock's friend at the time, Dave Murray, was invited to join the band, much to the dismay of the guitarist at the time. and that led to some frustrations in the band, and the band was disbanded for a short period of time, but then they come back together with just Dave Murray on guitar. In 1977, they appointed a second guitarist called Bob Sawyer, but he was very soon out of the band because he embarrassed them on stage by trying to play guitar with his teeth, and obviously looked like an idiot, so they booted him out. A band called Smiler. Yeah, I know. Surprisingly, yeah, that didn't last too long. Trevor's photos of him wearing makeup. Oh, that's pretty cool. I'll have to try and find some of them. That'd be pretty cool to see some of them. Okay, so the tension ensued again, causing a rift between Murray and Wilcock, who convinced Harris to fire Murray, as well as their original drummer Ron Matthews. After that, a new lineup was put together, featuring cutting crew member Tony Moore on keyboards and Terry Wappram on guitar, and drummer Barry Perkins, who later went on to be called Thunderstick. 1978, after a single gig in January, the keyboardist was asked to leave the band because Steve Harris decided that the band did not suit keyboards, which is very ironic after what happened in the 80s. But yeah. Phil Rugby on drums. I have no idea. What's up, Paul? How you doing? Paul's joined the chat. Okay, so yeah, got rid of keyboards. I thought that was just really ironic. Dave Murray rejoined the band in late March with Terry Wappram did not like that, so he got the boot as well. A few weeks later, Dennis Wilcock decided to leave the band and form his own band with called V1 with Wappram and the drummer Barry Perkins. After that, Doug Sampson was at Dennis and Thunderstick's last gig, and then after that, he was invited to join the band. He should sue keyboards. Yeah. So yeah, after that, the band was a three-piece. It was Harris, Murray, and Sampson. And after that, they spent the summer and autumn rehearsing and looking for a singer to complete their lineup. And so happened that they had a chance meeting at the Red Lion pub, where they met Paul Di'Anno, and after a very successful audition, he became the band's new vocalist. And after that, on New Year's Eve, they recorded a demo consisting of 4 songs, and they recorded it at Space Ward Studios in Cambridge, which is not too far away from me. They hoped that the demo would get them more live shows. And yeah, that brings us to 1979, where the demo was given to a guy called Neil Kay, who was managing a heavy metal club at the time. And yeah, he heard the tape and really enjoyed it. And he started playing the demo regularly in the club. And specifically the song Prowler got a lot of attention, went to #1 in the Soundhouse charts, which was in their own magazine. After that, a copy was given to Ron Smallwood, who would then after that become the band's manager. Mikey, how you doing? Not too late. Just missed a couple of years at the start, but that's not. You missed my. That's what it said. It'd be weird to see Steve Harris in a band called Smiler. It's very strange. So after that, they released a demo on their own record label, and they called it the Soundhouse Tapes after the club. And then after that, it was officially the band's like debut EP. But they omitted a song called Strange World because they didn't like the production on it. Although on their Best of the Beast compilation album released in the 90s, I think they re-recorded the song. Fine, is that close enough? Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, all 5,000 copies of the EP sold out within a couple of weeks, and now it's a collector's item. Apparently, one was sold for £1,750 on an online auction, which is pretty crazy. And then in December, they secured a major record deal with EMI. And around that time is when they asked Dave Murray's childhood friend, Adrian Smith, to join the band. But he had commitments in his band at the time called Urchin, which I didn't even know. So he declined. And then they got Dennis Stratton instead to play the second guitar. Shortly after that, Doug Sampson left the band due to health issues, and he was replaced by ex-Samson drummer Clive Burr at Stratton's suggestion as well. It's pretty cool. They started recording their debut album after that, and this is another pretty cool fact. According to sources, around between 1976 and 1989, they played 200 shows in Britain, which is pretty cool. So then after that is where it starts to get interesting. So they appeared in 1980. They first appeared on the Metal for Moofers compilation album, which was released on the 15th of February. And it featured two early versions of Sanctuary and Wrathchild. That led to a couple of other featured artists that would be linked with the new wave of British heavy metal movement. No, that's cool. That's coming up. I guess quite a lot of people know that anyway. Yeah. Lucky to get one now. Okay, so after that, they released their self-titled debut album on the 14th of April, and it debuted at number 4 in the UK album chart. And the album includes Running Free, Transylvania, Phantom of the Opera, and Sanctuary, which is actually not on the UK release, but mine is John's got a cool Funko Pop. Mine is the 1998 remaster, and it actually does feature Sanctuary. Oh, that's terrible. There you go. Mm-hmm. It does feature Sanctuary, and it also features 2 live tracks from Live at the Rainbow, which I'll get onto a bit later. That's it. The album achieved critical acclaim in Japan around that time as well. And they achieved their very first gold certificate, which is pretty cool. And it's also ranked number 13 on the greatest hard rock and heavy metal albums of all time, published by Rolling Stone. And it's a pretty important album, really, isn't it? Iron Maiden debut. I mean, when you listen to it back now, it's more of like it's not really heavy metal. It's kind of more hard rock, but it's literally like the foundations for that heavy metal sound, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, I like that album a lot.
Mm.
Yeah, I like it better than the one after it. But,
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, after that they embarked on a headline tour of the UK before they opened for Kiss on their Unmasked tour in Europe, and also they supported Judas Priest. They appeared at the Reading Festival that year as well. They were second to the top on the bill with UFO headlining. During the Kiss tour, Dennis Stratton was dismissed from the band due to creative personal differences and was replaced by Adrian Smith. Also, they in Europe, Iron Maiden, they played 28 shows to 400,000 people, which really helped their grow their image and status as one of the biggest bands. And then after that, they played at the Rainbow Theatre in London, where the very first live videos were filmed. And then after that, they started working on their second album, which was released in '81, Killers, on the 16th of February. And this contained a lot of tracks that was written prior to their first release, which I find quite interesting that the second album features songs that were written before they even made their first album. Very interesting. So yeah, and it featured two songs that they wrote. Two new songs that they wrote for the album: "Prodigal Son" and "Murders in the Rue Morgue." And the album featured the single "Twilight Zone," "Wrathchild," "Purgatory," and also the instrumental songs "Ides of March" and "Genghis Khan." The music style on this album influenced a lot of thrash metal, speed metal bands, and power metal bands. The iconic cover, was done by Derek Riggs, and then he went on to do pretty much all their album art after that. They also had the producer Martin Birch to produce it, and he would carry on working with the band until 1992. So yeah, it made the United States album charts, reached number 78 on the Billboard 200, sold 1 million copies a year after it launched, and went gold in Germany, Japan, Canada, Belgium, Denmark, France, and the UK. So pretty successful album. And as you say, John, probably not my favorite album, but I mean, there is some really good songs on it.
Yeah.
Such as, I love the opening track, Wrathchild as well. Great song.
Yeah, Wrathchild's a good one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Killers as well, pretty good. Yeah, pretty good album. Let's see what the chat's been saying. Saxon. Yeah, that's true. That is true. Best hair, Eddie. Yeah. Yeah. Eddie's mane for that album is top notch. Iron Maiden. My Photoshop Killers Eddie holding it. That's pretty cool. Paul, Wrathchild. Awesome song. I'd love to do a cover of it at some point on the channel. I saw Steve S&T Young. He did a really cool bass cover of it a couple of months ago, and that kind of sparked me to want to do one myself. Seeing Iron Maiden, his first gig in 1986. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Yeah, we'll get onto Somewhere in Time pretty soon in the future. So yeah, after that they went on their first world tour, which included their first real performance in the United States. They opened for Judas Priest. They booked 132 shows. And then after that, on the 11th of May, they released the live album Live at the Rainbow, which my debut album features 2 tracks there at the end. Iron Maiden, Phantom of the Opera, Live at the Rainbow, which I thought was pretty cool. And their cuts for Iron Maiden and Wrathchild were in heavy rotation on MTV around that time. After that, the UK part of the tour included a headline performance at the Hammersmith Odeon. However, Paul Di'Anno's addiction problems was starting to become a big problem. Yeah, so they did a tour in Japan, but a couple of them shows were cancelled due to Di'Anno, starting to have some problems. Yeah, and then after that, they released an EP called Made in Japan. It's like a little live thing in Japan. And then that's when Paul Di'Anno was getting a lot worse. His performances were getting worse, so he was fired. And at that point, that they'd actually come up with his replacement. At the Reading Festival, they met up with Bruce Dickinson, and he auditioned for the band and was hired straight away. And then the next month, they went on tour with Bruce. They played a one-off show at the Rainbow Theatre, and they played a couple of tracks off their new album that was coming out the year after, 1982, when they released their third album, Number of the Beast, on the 22nd of March. It became the band's first number 1 in the UK charts and reached 33 on the Billboard 200. And yeah, it's an absolute classic album. Features the singles Run to the Hills, 22 Acacia Avenue, Hallowed Be Thy Name. Absolute classic songs. And yeah, after the first year of it releasing, 2.5 million copies were sold. And yeah, now it's sold over 20 million copies worldwide. And yeah, I don't know what you can say about the album that's not already been said. It's just an absolute classic album. One of their best for definite. One of my favorites as well. Pretty much, I love the whole thing pretty much. Invaders, Children of the Damned, yeah, Number of the Beast. Love that song as well. The title track. Cool. Let's see. Wrathchild collab cover. That'd be pretty cool. Maybe, yeah. An alternate cover of Made in Japan with Eddie holding a samurai sword in one hand and Di'Anno's head in the other. That's pretty cool. That would be pretty cool to see. So let's see. After that, they went on their second world tour called Beast on the Road. And yeah, they went to North America, Asia, Europe, including they played at the Reading Festival again to 40,000 people. Viking X, how you doing? Cheers for stopping by. Yeah, they played 188 shows in 10 months, which that's pretty crazy. For the very first time, they presented a conceptual setting. There we go for their live set. Yeah, so they had. So this was the first time they actually went for one of their massive stage shows. They had an 8-foot tall Eddie that was on the stage, and yeah, that was like the beginning of their elaborate stage shows that they are now well known for. I'm glad they made it. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, glad you could be here. So yeah, they pretty much get past that bit. In December, drummer Clive Burr was fired from the band and was replaced by Nico McBrain. Here we go. So, yeah, Harris stated that his dismissal took place because his live performances were affected by offstage activities. Burr objected to this and claimed that he was unfairly outed by the band. So, yeah, and then after that, they went to the Bahamas to record their next album, which come out in 1983. Their fourth album, Peace of Mind, was released on the 16th of May, and that reached number 3 in the UK and number 14 on the Billboard 200. It achieved platinum in the UK and North America. It sold over 200 million, no, not 200 million, 2 million copies in its first year. I know. And yeah, features The Trooper, Flight of Icarus, Where Eagles Dare, Revelations, and Tamerland. Awesome epic end to the album. And yeah, another classic album. You know, pretty much all their 80s albums are all like their best albums, really. They are. Like, there's no two ways of going about it. They just are. But again, this one, to be honest, when I first heard it, like, it didn't stand out to me as much. But over time, it's gone up a lot since then. And yeah, the opening track, Where Eagles Dare, that is a really awesome song. Revelations, Flight of Icarus, which is really cool. I did a cover of that. And yeah, the last song, To Tame a Land, that is a really awesome song as well. Oh, that's pretty cool. Nice. That's pretty cool to know. Into the Bahamas. Yeah. Yeah, just imagine if he found out, like, after he got fired. Like, oh, we're just going off to the Bahamas now. Iron Maiden. Never really... Oh, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Well, you'll learn everything you need to know about the band from this. Okay, so, yeah, after that, they went on tour again. Massive world tour called World Peace Tour. And this was the first time where they were actually booked as headliners for the North America tour. Nearly 90 shows took place in 10,000 plus seat arenas. The band sold out Madison Square Garden as well. It was pretty cool. And then in London, they played 4 consecutive nights at the Hammersmith Odeon, and then toured a lot of other large venues in Europe. And then they played 2 headline. They played 2 headline shows at the Rock and Pop Festival in Dortmund, and it was broadcast live to 300 million people, which really helped boost them. Why is me Megadeth? I guess it's because of the maybe the Eddie that Iron Maiden have, and it's similar to Vic Rattlehead that Megadeth have, I guess, maybe. So yeah, after that, in September, the band released a video compilation album called Video Pieces, which contained official clips from Number of the Beast and Peace of Mind albums. So after that, 1984, on the 3rd of September, they released their 5th album, Power Slave. And this one features the singles 2 Minutes to Midnight, Aces High, and the title track, Rhyme the Ancient Mariner, the awesome epic Rhyme the Ancient Mariner, and it reached number 12 on the Billboard 200 and number 2 in the UK. And for me, Power Slave's my favourite album by Iron Maiden. And, well, I'd say it's close between that and Number of the Beast, but for me, it's Power Slave because there's nothing bad on it at all. From start to finish, it's just even Flash the Blade, Duelists, and the last 2 songs to finish it off, Power Slave and Rhyme the Ancient Mariner, just absolutely fantastic songs, both of them. Yeah. So after that, they went on another world tour called the World Slavery Tour, which consisted of 193 shows in 28 countries over 13 months. And they played to an estimated 3.5 million people in total on the tour. So for this, they used a 33-foot Eddie appearing as a big mummified walking phantom thing. The conceptual stage was with Egyptian kind of things going on and quite a lot of prosthetics. So the tour started in August with 5 shows in Poland, and then they were one of the very first Western artists that brought a full-scale production behind the Iron Curtain. At that point, it was, average attendance for the gigs in Poland were 12,000 people, with a couple of other thousand outside. In Budapest, they played to 50,000 people. And they had a massive success in America as well. That's that. After that, they released a video album called Behind the Iron Curtain, which is basically from that tour, and it's like a documentary that features footage behind the scenes when they were touring in Europe. And it contained 2 promotional clips from the Power Slave album, live tracks, interviews, and all sorts of stuff. And then after that, they made their debut in South America, where they co-lined the Rock in Rio festival with Queen to an estimated 350,000 to 500,000 people, which is that is just insane numbers. But I mean, they do at Rock in Rio, they have some pretty crazy numbers. But after the tour, it was pretty grueling on the band. And after that, they demanded 6 months off. and that was actually reduced to 4 months. So yeah, that was like the first real break that they had since, well, probably since like 1980, really. Like constant making an album and then constant touring. That must have been really tiring for them. Right, let's see. 24 channels on the TV. Yeah. Wow. When Slayer. Yeah. We can do a story of Slayer next. If that's what the people want to see, we could definitely do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll do one. We'll do one. Means that it was in second place as well. We could definitely do that one. Led Zeppelin. Yeah. Cool. Yes. Led Zeppelin are cool. 3 people in the chat and 2 of them voted for Slayer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Where's all them robots that voted for Iron Maiden then? Where are they all gone? The pilot. Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty crazy. Right, okay, we're getting there. 1985 now, and the band published their first double album, Live After Death, and it was released in audio form on the 14th of October, video form on the 23rd of October, and yeah, it features tracks from their first 5 albums. It was a massive success, peaking at number 19 on the Billboard 200, number 2 in the UK. It was recorded at the Long Beach Arena in the United States, and also featured additional tracks from 4 nights at the Hammersmith Apollo. Yeah, it's widely regarded as one of the greatest live albums of all time, and yeah, one of the last great live albums of the vinyl era. Yeah. Along with the album, the official video with the same name was released, and that debuted at number 1 in the UK and topped the music charts worldwide. Live After Death video was digitally remastered in 2008, part of the History of Iron Maiden series. And yeah, that's probably one that a lot of people own. I know a lot of people own, and yeah, when I was making my notes for this, I was thinking, I should own that one. I mean, I'm not a massive live album person, but I mean, that one is pretty iconic as far as live albums go. So, yeah. Keep making new albums. Yeah. Well, at that time, literally all they did was make albums and tour. They didn't have much time in between because that's how they made their money, really, by just constantly touring and putting out a new album each year. But yeah, around that time was sort of when they started to have a bit more breaks in between albums. Yeah, that's it. They were building up probably around that time in the mid 80s. They were building up probably the biggest fan base in metal at that point. I don't think there was many bands bigger than Iron Maiden around that time. Yeah. You know, maybe Ozzy Osbourne, maybe Judas Priest. That's probably about it, isn't it? So yeah, in November 1985, the band were named Best Rock and Metal Band in the World by a public choice thing. So yeah, 1986. After returning from their time off, they released their 6th album titled Somewhere in Time on the 29th of September. And with this one, they adopted a slightly different style where they started to include some synths and some synthesized guitars. And yeah, a lot of different layers to the sound. Adrian Smith wrote almost half the album on his own, with Bruce Dickinson having 0 writing credits. The album features the singles Wasted Years, Stranger in a Strange Land, also Sea of Madness, Heaven Can Wait, and Alexander the Great. The album at the time was the band's biggest American chart success, reaching number 11. It was number 2 in the UK, and it immediately reached gold status in the UK and platinum in the United States. And then it went on to be double platinum. And I don't know. I mean, this album to me doesn't really get as much praise as I think it should. I mean, I know it's still a massive album that a lot of people do enjoy, but this one, maybe because of the slightly different sound, I really enjoy this album.
Yeah, this was the first one I ever bought. This was my introduction to the band.
Oh, nice! That's really cool.
Somewhere in Time, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I really enjoy this album. I don't really think that there's too much really wrong with it. Yeah, some really great songs on this album. Yeah, the opening track, Caught Somewhere in Time, that's a really awesome song.
Yeah.
Okay. All Down, yeah. Had to fire a member to be able to afford to go to the Bahamas. Yeah, that's true. Right. Next, they went on tour. Somewhere on Tour was pretty successful. They played 157 shows to 2.5 million fans worldwide. 81 of those shows were in North America, and they started to play a lot more bigger stadiums and arenas. They had a massive UK leg in their tour where they played 6 nights at the Hammersmith Odeon, and they were all sold out in advance, and that's pretty crazy. 1987, they didn't really do a lot that year. In October, they released the 12 Wasted Years video documentary that focused on the early history of the band from 1975 up to that point. And it had a lot of rare videos and interviews from the band's career. In 1988 is when they released their 7th album, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. And that was released on the 11th of April. They should have put it on the 7th, really, shouldn't they?
Yeah, that would have made sense.
that would have made a lot more sense if they had put it out on the 7th. So yeah, it was a concept album, and it was recorded at the Musicland Studios in Munich, and it was based on the Seventh Son novel by Orson Scott Card. This album is where they used keyboards for the first time properly, which were played by Adrian Smith and Steve Harris. Bruce Dickinson had a lot more ideas for this album and was a lot more happier about it. This album became Iron Maiden's 2nd album to hit number 1 in the UK, number 3 in the UK singles chart, and it reached number 12 on the Billboard 200. It initially only received a gold certification, but then it went platinum. And then it includes singles Can I Play with Madness, The Evil That Men Do, and The Clairvoyant. And got to be honest, out of the 80s albums, this is the one that I like probably the least. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of the change in sound again with this album. I never really got on with it too well. But I really do enjoy the opening track, Moonchild. I think that's a really good song. And I wanted to show this because this is my dad's vinyl from 88. It's an OG. Still got the price sticker on it. So yeah, I wanted to show that. We old school guys out there. Yeah, I think you should. I think you should. I think you probably would like a lot of their early stuff. I'd say, yeah, start with like Number of the Beast, Power Slave, them albums, or maybe Peace of Mind as well. Yeah. Oh yeah, just give it a go. Just give it a try. You got Spotify. Put one of the albums on. Going to throw in any April Fool's jokes about Maiden? No. Well, I was thinking about starting the stream by saying that we've cancelled it and have that as the April Fool. But then I thought, but maybe not. Or some vinyl. Yeah. I was looking to see if I could find any more of my dad's vinyls, but I couldn't find any, unfortunately. But I am thinking about doing a video showing some of my parents' vinyls in the future. Iron Maiden don't sound like Megadeth. I'll put that out there. They don't sound like Megadeth. Iron Maiden kind of sound like their own thing, really. I don't really think Maiden sound like anyone else.
No, they're original. There are other bands that tried to maybe imitate them a little bit.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the like power metal bands that developed in like the 80s and late 90s kind of took what Maiden were doing and just kind of like changed it up a little, maybe played a little faster. But yeah, a lot of power metal bands they were kind of like derived from like early Iron Maiden.
Yeah. Bruce's vocals. That's the thing with Bruce's vocals. It's kind of like you either like them or you don't. I've kind of gotten to like them more over time. And like when I first heard them, because they were a bit too much, but now it's sort of like you can kind of get them in there. I don't know. Well, I thought maybe it was because of Eddie, because you've got Eddie for Iron Maiden, and then you have Vic Rattlehead for Megadeth. They are a little bit similar, but a bit different, I guess. Okay, let's move on. So, after that, they went on a supporting tour and they played 103 shows to over 2 million people again in just over 7 months, which is pretty crazy. To recreate the keyboards on the album, they recruited Michael Kenny to play live. He was Steve Harris's bass technician at the time. and he basically did all the live keyboards. And then when they would play Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, he would stand on a forklift truck, and would wear a black cape like a Dracula or something crazy. That's a bit weird. Yeah, Dragon Force are like a modern power metal band.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're from the UK as well. I believe I think they're English. I'm not 100% sure. So yeah, after that, they headlined a lot of dates in America, and then they headlined the Monsters of Rock festivals in Europe for the first time, and they headlined stadiums and festivals throughout Europe. So yeah, they headlined the Monsters of Rock at Donington Park for the first time in August that year, and they played to the largest crowd in the festival's history around that time. We've estimated 107,000 in attendance. And also on the bill that year was Kiss, Dave Lee Roth, Megadeth, Guns N' Roses, and Halloween. And at the time, they were in the Guinness Book of Records for its performance. Festival, however, was marred because during Guns N' Roses set, there was 2 deaths in the crowd that year, and then after that it got cancelled. And I can tell you one thing, that gig, that show, my dad was at that show, but he got out all right, fortunately. Yeah, I remember him saying about that when and then when I looked this up and I found that information, I'm like, oh wow, because yeah, my dad and his mates and his brother, I think as well, they went to that show, but they were all good. But yeah, I thought that was quite interesting. And then after that, they played some more headline shows in the UK, and including Birmingham, which is where they recorded their live album Made in England. And then after that, they played a couple of secret shows under the name Charlotte the Harlots, which is from their first album. I thought that was pretty interesting. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
And then after that, in 1989, the band took another break because of that massive tour. And during the break, Adrian Smith released his debut album with his band ASAP called Silver and Gold. Bruce Dickinson began working on his debut solo album as well with former Gillan guitarist Yannick Gers, called Tattooed Millionaire. And then after that, the Maiden England live album was released on the 8th of November. And that video debuted at the top of the worldwide music video charts. And then after that, they included the full 12 Wasted Years documentary with the reissue of that album. So, yeah, with that, hold on. What song of Iron Maiden did you say I should listen to? I said albums, but yeah, anything off Power Slave, anything off Number of the Beast, I'd say that's probably the best place to start.
I would say Number of the Beast would be a good starting point.
Yeah, because you've got that song Number of the Beast. You've also got
Number of the Beast, How Bid a Name, Run to the Hills.
Yeah,
Invaders.
Yeah, them songs. Yeah. And also from Power Slave, you got 2 Minutes to Midnight. That's a classic. Aces High as well. So yeah, any of them songs really, if you like them, then you'll probably like the band. So yeah, that's it. That's it for that. I'm going to shut up and let John get on with the 90s.
Okay, as you were mentioning before, Bruce Dickinson released Tattooed Millionaire. That was his first solo album. He was still in Iron Maiden when he put that out, and that was when I listened to that one when it came out. It was more of like glam metal. I think like now I liked it back then. Now I don't like it as much. But that had the song "Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter," which was actually released on their subsequent album "No Prayer for the Dying." Now at that time they were, for some reason or another, they wanted to kind of change their sound, and I think at that point, Adrian Smith actually left the band because he didn't like the direction they were going towards. And you also just mentioned Yannick Gers. He was on that album, that Dickinson album, so he joined the band. And they released No Prayer for the Dying, which is probably my least favorite album. It's just one I used to have it. I used to listen to it a lot, but I never liked it. I had to hit the singles Holy Smoke and Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter, which was a number one hit in the UK. I think they're only a number one song. Mm-hmm. And there was also another, I think the song was also on Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, The Dream Child. So it was a big song, but they also like received some like awards. You know, they were kind of big at that time. You know, they were popular just because of the single, but I think this was kind of like Iron Maiden just putting out an album which wasn't as good. But they went on tour. They played Europe, North America, Japan. They played 120 shows. They played in the UK, France, Denmark, Switzerland, and many other shows. So that they continued, and in 1992 they released Fear the Dark, which was a much better album. Although there are some songs in that one I don't like that much, but it has some good ones. Now it's actually their third number one on the UK albums chart and number 12 on Billboard, so they were pretty big. Singles, Be Quick or Be Dead, and From Here to Eternity, those are good. Wasted Love. That was them trying to do like those glam metal power ballads. And I thought that's a good song. They pulled it off. Afraid to Shoot Strangers, that's based on the Gulf War, which was in 1991. That's actually one of my favorite songs, but my favorite song is definitely from what's called No Prayer. No, what was it? Fear the Dark. That's like my favorite song because it's just such a great like live song, and it's one that they play to this day. So they went on tour. They went in Latin America for the first time, and they played the Monsters of Rock Festival.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, can you? I was wondering about that because I grew up in the U.S. I guess that they were all over the radio back then. If you lived in the UK,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Actually, Maiden was really never played on the radio in the US. But anyway, so moving on. So then, Fear the Dark tour, they did 66 concerts. They had a big show, lots of like lamps and lasers and stuff, and so they played a lot, but it was a time when they were going through a lot of problems. So Bruce Dickinson decided to leave the band in 1993. He played a couple of like they played on live albums, played a farewell tour. So it wasn't really. It was kind of amicable, I guess you can say that. But I think at that point the band wasn't doing very well. It was going into the 90s. I think metal wasn't as popular. A lot of like the alternative music was taking over. But they continued to tour. And they toured pretty much the next few years. So into like into 93. They played Moscow and, played a couple more shows. So moving into the mid-90s, we have the Blaze Bayley era. And in that time, they released 2 albums, The X Factor and Virtual 11. So Blaze Bayley joined. He was originally from the band Wolfsbane. That was, I guess, called them a glam metal band. They actually opened for Iron Maiden in like 1990. So it's an interesting note.
Mm-hmm.
But they released The X Factor in 1995. That's an album. I think it's okay. I mean, the Blaze albums are nowhere near as good as the albums with Bruce, or even the first 2 albums, but I don't think they're horrible. The X Factor, it's a dark album. They have like lots of like long songs. So you have Silent Across, that's an 11-minute song. Man on the Edge, that's based on a movie called Falling Down with Michael Douglas. Really good movie if you haven't seen it. And Lure the Flies, based on a novel. Like I was saying, it was a darker album because Steve Harris was going through a divorce, and that was just kind of like how he was feeling at the time. But the band, they toured a lot through 95 and 96. They played some countries for the first time. They played Israel, South Africa, Malta, Bulgaria, Romania, and played a really big show. They played Monster Rock in Sao Paulo, Brazil. So now they're still touring. The X Factor did okay. It didn't really sell as much as their other albums. It sold 1.3 million copies. That's their lowest since Killers. But they moved on, and then in 1998 they released Virtual 11, and that was the band's worst selling album. It didn't even sell a million worldwide. That's the first time ever. I like this album. I mean, there's some songs that are not good songs, like Angel and the Gambler. That's a really long song. It's not a great song. But there are some good songs called Klansman. That's a good song, and actually still play that live. I saw Maiden back in September, and they played the Klansman, so I was happy about that. And I also played the other one I just mentioned. I think it was they played Silent Across with Bruce on vocals, so that's good that they still play some songs from those albums. This one also had a good, this one had a single, Future Real. That's a really good song with Blaze on vocals. It's more like that old school, fast and heavy type of songs. So then moving on, they continued to tour. Lots of touring. They did Monsters of Rock in Argentina, Buenos Aires. Yeah, they had bigger shows, more lighting. The bigger effects, the bigger Eddie, and pretty much a bigger stage show in general. But Blaze Bayley left Iron Maiden in January '99, just because they said that he was having problems with his voice during the previous tour, and they were saying that some of the songs were outside of his natural range. He doesn't have the same range as Bruce Dickinson, so that's why he left. So we're moving into 99. Actually, I'm almost done here. So now in 1999, Adrian Smith, he left. Actually, Adrian Smith, he rejoined Maiden in 1999. And they went back to a 3-guitar band.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, at that point, they're getting ready, and now Bruce Dickinson ends up coming back. They get back in contact with him, and they offer him the position. So he joins the band back in 1999. Now, at first, he really wasn't, that into rejoining, because he was kind of worried, can the band come back after the 90s? The 90s weren't really a great decade for this band. They were much more popular in the 80s, but they decided they recorded some songs. They released some 2 singles for the next album, which would be The Wicker Man, and Outer Silent Planet. And those singles did pretty good. So The Wicker Man was based on a movie. It's a British cult movie, which I've actually never seen. I think they remade it with Nicolas Cage or something. And then Brave New World, which is from that novel, the famous novel. So that's the album that came out in 2000, which I'll let you talk about. And that's I'll stop there. I'll let you continue with the 2000s.
Yeah. Okay. So firstly, Steve said Sign of the Cross is a great song.
Yeah, they're really great live. Like Bruce has this like lighted up like crucifix that he carries around. Yeah, like they really did a good job on that.
Yeah, nice. And remake. Oh, that must be the film.
Oh, the movie remake. Yeah, I haven't even seen either the new one or the old one. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. We'll take your word on that one then, Simon. So 2000. So at this point, Steve Harris took over as the sole keyboardist for the band for their upcoming album, and Michael Kenny remained as their live keyboardist though. He says the original Wicker Man is really good. Okay, cool.
I gotta look it
up. Okay, so after that, they on the 29th of May, they released their 12th album, Brave New World, and featuring the returning Bruce Dickinson and Adrian Smith. It was recorded at the I don't know, some studio in France, in Paris, with producer Kevin Shirley. So it featured the singles that we just talked about, also the title track that we also just talked about as well, Blood Brothers and the Nomad as well. So this album kind of furthered that progressive and melodic sound that they had in their early albums, with sort of more of that 90s style, with the crazy song structures, long songs, keyboards as well. But the album was pretty successful, and it's considered a modern classic along with their 80s work. It charted at number 7 on the UK charts, number 39 on the Billboard 200. And it went gold and platinum in a lot of countries as well. And it is like a modern classic. To a lot of people, this is their best album of the modern Maiden era. And I kind of would agree with that, to be honest. Out of the ones that I've heard, which, to be fair, now the only ones I did actually listen to No Prayer for the Dying this afternoon, and to be fair, I thought it was actually all right. So maybe that's because I just had it on in the background and thought I'm just gonna, get on with other things whilst I was listening to it. But I thought it was all right. Out of the ones that I've listened to, which is everything bar The Book of Souls and Virtual 11 and the X Factor now. I think this one probably is up there for one of the better albums from their, over the last 25 years, 30 years. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. I've always really liked The Fallen Angel, that song. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's a bit more of a shorter track. It kind of that song harkens back more to the early Maiden sound, and that's probably why I really like that song a lot. But also the Nomad, I think that's a pretty good song. Ghost and Navigator as well, pretty decent track as well. So yeah, some really good songs on it. So yeah, that tour consisted of over 100 dates. They played 91 shows to over 2 million people in 33 countries when they toured the album. And yeah, the tour was dubbed the Metal 2000 Tour, which they kind of tried to restore the old sets from the 80s. Okay. Oh, yeah, you saw that, Mikey said about the Painkiller.
Oh, yeah, if you want to hold it.
Is that original?
Yeah, I mean, this is completely off topic, but this is like one of my favorite albums of all time. Judas Priest Painkiller.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice, that's cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, Viking says AC/DC.
Yeah, that's actually a drawing with colored pencils.
Ah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, 2001 on the 19th of January, they performed at the Rock in Rio Festival, and they played to an audience of over 250,000. And yeah, after that, they took a year off from touring, and they played a couple of shows at Brixton Academy in aid of their drummer Clive Burr, their former drummer, who at that point announced that he had been diagnosed with MS. So also around that time, the band were nominated twice for a Grammy, and they received the International Achievement Award at the 2001 Ivor Novello Awards in recognition as they're one of the greatest British bands. After that, they were hailed as one of the most successful British bands. And Number of the Beast album was included in the prestigious Classic Albums series. 2002, on March the 25th, they released the live album recorded at the Rock in Rio gig they played a year prior. And on the 10th of June, they released it on DVD. On the 4th of November, they released another best of compilation called Edward the Great, and it was limited edition. Yeah, pretty collector's item, and it also included this metal casket called Eddie's Archive, which had a load of CDs, a lot of best ofs, B-sides, unique live recordings from Reading festivals in their early period, Donington Festival as well, Monsters of Rock. Yeah, a lot of rare stuff that you probably wouldn't find. 2003, on 2nd of June, they released another double DVD promo video called Visions of the Beast, and that went multi-platinum. At the same time, the band began a promotional tour for that DVD. The summer leg of the tour was called Give 'em Ed Till I'm Dead. Included 57 shows in Europe and North America, which included Rock am Ring and Rock in Park, which combined audience of 130,000. And the first time they played at the renamed Download Festival, which was the successor to Monsters of Rock. After that, they played 28 shows in Europe, playing to a combined 720,000 fans. And then they played in the United States and Canada again. On the 2nd of September, they released their 13th album called Dance of Death. And again, it was a massive critical commercial success, reached number 2 in the UK, number 18 on the Billboard 200. And it was again produced by Kevin Shirley, this time at the London Psalm West Studios. And this features the singles Wildest Dreams, Rainmaker, and also tracks like No More Lies, Journeyman, Montsegur, and Passchendaele. This album also featured, for the first time, a song that was co-written by Nico McBrain called The New Frontier. And I listened to this album. Actually, I listened to this album whilst I was making these notes. And gotta be honest, I wasn't overly whelmed by it. I mean, there were some good songs here and there. Like the first 2 songs are probably the best 2 songs on the album. And it's no coincidence that they're not even 4 minutes long. They're 2 songs. And they're the best songs. That, that's kind of a problem with a lot of like the newer Maiden albums. A lot of the songs are well too long than they should be.
Yeah.
And most of the time, when they write shorter songs, they're the best songs. I didn't mind Montsegur. I thought Montsegur was pretty good. Passchendaele, I really like that song as well.
Yeah,
that was written by Adrian Smith. And the last song was a bit of an interesting song, Journeyman. I kind of, in a weird way, I kind of like that song. That's that. The Dance of Death tour began in October, and it was a pretty theatrical stage show. Stage portrayed like a medieval castle with opening gates, and there's some Grim Reaper statues across the stage, large towers, 2 different versions of Eddie, one as a Grim Reaper character. That would have been quite cool. After that, they played 53 shows in Europe. And during the tour, the band took part in charity football games called Music Soccer 6. I know that a lot of the members of Iron Maiden are pretty big football fans as well.
Yeah.
Steve Harris especially, massive West Ham fan. Haven't heard much of anything from the 90s onwards. Yeah, a lot of them are, I don't know, some of them are quite long and brooding, aren't they, really? Like, sometimes they're quite hard to get through, some of the albums. But, So after that, in 2004, the tour ended. After that, they released an EP called No More Lies, which featured that track, and it also featured an orchestral version of Passchendaele and an electric version of the Journeyman. Now that would be interesting to hear that. Okay, so after that, parts of the 12 Wasted Years documentary was included in a new documentary called The History of Iron Maiden Part 1, and that was released on the 8th of November. Features the first part of Iron Maiden history series, which basically goes through their early period up until 1983. It features a lot of rare videos, footage, interviews, they also at that time received a Special Achievement Award as well. So that's cool. After that, 2005, the band announced a new tour called Eddie Rips Up the World tour. It's pretty cool. Which only featured material from their first 4 albums and first 3 retrospective tours of the history of Iron Maiden. Part of this celebration, Number of the Beast single was re-released and went straight to number 3 in the UK charts. The tour included many headlining festival dates. Yeah. So they played this show in Sweden to an audience of 60,000, and the concert was televised live, and 60 million people watched it across the world. No, across Europe. Sorry. Stage production was pretty big, and it used a lot of several incarnations of Eddie and a lot of props from their early tours as well. Following that, they played a load of European shows, and then they co-headlined Ozfest with Black Sabbath that year. So the Ozfest normal attendance was around 30,000, but with Iron Maiden playing, that brought in 50,000 fans, which is pretty cool. There was something that was going on around that time because Ozzy Osbourne and Bruce Dickinson, or Ozzy Osbourne's family and Bruce Dickinson, had a bit of a rivalry around that time. They had a bit of a disagreement. I think Bruce Dickinson said some comments about reality TV, which they didn't like, and that caused some tension around that whole show. But after that, they played the Reading and Leeds Festival and the RDS Stadium in Ireland. And then for the second time, they played at the charity fund for Clive Burr MS Trust Fund at the Hammersmith Apollo. After that, they were included into the Hollywood Rock Walk on Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles, and they were inducted into the Kerrang Hall of Fame. On the 29th of August, they released the live album Death on the Road, which was recorded in Dortmund in 2003 during the Dance of Death tour. It was released on DVD 6 months later. And at the end of 2005 is when they started working on their next album. Battle of the Bands and Sharon. Yeah, Sharon Osbourne versus Bruce Dickinson. That would have been a mighty battle. Right, so next up, 2006, where they released their 14th album, A Matter of Life and Death, on the 25th of August. The release was another massive success for the band, entering the top 10 at the Billboard 200 for the first time, and it debuted at number 1 in album charts of 13 countries. Featured the singles Different World and Reincarnation of Benjamin Brieg. Also featured songs Brighter Than a Thousand Suns, The Longest Day, and For the Great Good of God, and Legacy as well. Among many accolades, it received Album of the Year for the 2006 Classic Rock and Roll Honor Awards. And when I listened to this one, also during writing my notes for this, I actually really like this one. I don't know whether it's because I listened to Dance of Death and then had a break and then listened to this one straight after. I don't know whether it was because of that, but I just really like this album. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, this one's different. It's a little more like their progressive kind of sound, but I think the songs are like really good. I think this one I like it better than Dance of Death as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a reincarnation of Benjamin Brieg is like one of my favorite. But The Longest Day is another one that's just a
Yeah.
great song. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I think that might be my favourite song on the album, to be honest. The
Yeah.
Longest Day. I listened to it again this afternoon, and yeah, I really, really enjoyed that song. Something about it. I love the bit in the middle of the song. It kind of sounds like he almost does like a Andy Summers from The Police like thing.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. It really fit quite well in the song. Yeah, I really like that album. Yeah, that's one I definitely probably would like to own if I, because I don't own it. Out of the newer albums, that one probably would be high on my list.
Yeah, it's cool. I don't have the CD, but that one, like they sell one with like this like figure. It's like in a box. You can probably find it. I don't know if you've seen it. You can find it probably on Amazon, but
yeah, I definitely would want to get that one. Yeah. After listening to it, really, really good album. So yeah, I probably would say like if you wanted to get into their newer stuff, Matter of Life and Death, albeit it's 71 minutes long, which is quite daunting. But to be fair, when I was listening to it, it didn't feel like 71 minutes. It didn't drag like Dance of Death did. I mean, Dance of Death's not as long, but it felt longer to me than this one. This one actually, I enjoyed a lot more.
Yeah.
So yeah. Then after that, they played on another massive world tour, selling out indoor arenas everywhere. They played multiple shows in venues like Earl's Court in London, Forum Sago in Milan, Goblin Arena in Stockholm, and Heartwall Arena in Helsinki. Part of the setting of the tour was an extension of the idea that they had for the song Passchendaele, where they would basically turn the set into like a massive battlefield. For Passchendaele, I think they did it more for like a World War One setting. But with the whole, this tour, they basically had the setting as like a massive battlefield, and the climax at the show, at the end of the show, the set turned into a huge moving tank, and that would have been really cool to see.
Yeah.
Did Iron Maiden have any satanic thing? Well, Number of the Beast they did.
But
as a joke.
There was a story they kind of like did it as a joke because they were like, this is like during the birth of heavy metal back in the 80s when pretty much like people were afraid of it and they were labeled as a satanic band. So they wrote the Number of the Beast as kind of like a joke. So it's more of like a song that kind of tells a story. It's based on, I think it was a dream that Steve Harris had or something like that. But they're not a satanic band. I mean, there are bands that have a lot more, they're nothing close to something like a black metal band or anything like that. But that's just how they started. But they're not. Yeah.
Yeah. Longer than the Ultimate Feast. Oh man. Yeah, I know it's a lot. Well, at least it's not as long as the Book of Souls. Book of Souls, that is a ridiculous length for an album. But we'll get onto that later. Yeah. So they Black Sabbath kind of did it as a joke as well, I guess. Back in the day. So yeah, in 2007 now, as part of the second half of the Matter of Life and Death tour. They called it A Matter of the Beast to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Number of the Beast. That included appearances at several major festivals and stadiums worldwide. They also they opened that tour in the Middle East, and they played their first ever gig in Dubai at the Dubai Desert Rock Festival to 25,000 people. After which they played to over 40,000 people at Bangalore Palace Grounds. I have no idea what that is. Absolutely ruined it. Marking the first concert by any heavy metal band to play in India. Oh, that's cool. Some of this I forgot that I even wrote down. The bands after that, they played a load of European dates, including Download, where they headlined for the fourth time to approximately 80,000 people. They also played at the Olympic Stadium in Rome, lots of other stadiums around Europe. They headlined the BBK Live Festival in Bilbao. A lot of other festivals. On the 24th of June, they ended the tour with a performance at London's Brixton Academy in aid of the Clive Burr MS Trust Fund again. And that's the last time that they played at the charity show before Clive Burr passed away. On the 5th of September 2007, they announced a new tour called Somewhere Back in Time Tour, which tied with a DVD release of their Live After Death album. And in 2008 is where they began that Somewhere Back in Time tour on the 1st of February. The set list consisted of a lot of their 80s success, with specific emphasis on the Power Slave era set design. And the album cover as well is basically Power Slave with the Somewhere in Time Eddie coming out of the pyramid. It looks pretty cool. For the first part of the tour, they started in Mumbai in India, and they played 24 concerts in 21 cities, traveling nearly 50,000 miles in the band's own chartered aeroplane called Ed Force One. And it's like an old, not an old, but it's like a Boeing 747 that they got and turned it into their own personal airship, and which Bruce Dickinson flew himself, as Mickey mentioned earlier in the stream. I'm not sure around the time when he did actually get his flying license. I didn't find that information, but and that's where they played their first ever concerts in Costa Rica and Colombia, and also their first shows in Australia and Puerto Rico since 1992. And our Rick from Dreadful Minutes is here. Good old story time. Yeah, that's basically what this is. Going through the history. Yeah. That's nice. Well, okay. So the tour led to the release of a new compilation album called Somewhere Back in Time, and that's what I mentioned earlier. And it basically has a load of tracks from there. Like, it's almost like a best of, really, with all their best tracks from the 80s and some live versions from Live After Death as well. And that was released on the 12th of May. The tour turned out to be the biggest undertaking concert that they've ever done. Only 7 concerts in Scandinavia saw over 250,000 people. That's pretty crazy. According to Live Nation Scandinavia, the band attracted the largest audience ever for a rock band in the region. That's pretty crazy. And in Latin America, they played 27 concerts for about 1 million people in total. Just unbelievable numbers. Somewhere Back in Time tour continued with 2 further legs in the United States and Europe. And yeah, they used a massive stage set, which kind of used elements from the Live After Death show. And then they played at Twickenham Stadium in the UK. And that'd be the first time that the band would headline a stadium in their own country. So yeah, it was pretty successful, that tour. It would be the second highest grossing tour of that year for a British artist, which is that's crazy numbers. And then in 2009, they finished off the second part of the tour, once again using Ed Force One to get about. The first leg included their first ever appearances in Peru and Ecuador, as well as a return to Venezuela and New Zealand after 17 years. The band also played another show in India, Rock in India Festival, and they also played Sao Paulo on the 15th of March. And Bruce Dickinson said on stage that it was the lastest non-festival show of their career, with an attendance of 100,000 people. The final leg ended in Florida on the 2nd of April, after which the band took a massive break again. Overall, the tour had an attendance of over 2.5 million people worldwide over the 2 years. And at the Brit Awards that year, they won the award for Best British Live Act, which was voted by the public, which is quite insane. Yeah, Ed Force One is the coolest name for a plane. Yeah, it is. I mean, literally, it just fits so well, doesn't it, for Maiden? And then the last bit for me here is on the April the 21st. They released a full-length documentary film in cinemas titled Iron Maiden Flight 666. And this was filmed during the whole Somewhere Back in Time World Tour between February and March 2008. It was co-produced by Banger Productions and was distributed by Cinemas, by Arts, Allegiance Media and EMI, and D&E Entertainment in the United States. The film had a Blu-ray, DVD, and CD release on the 25th of May, and it was on the 9th of June in the United States, topping the music DVD charts in 25 countries. And in most of them, the release went to gold, platinum, and even multi-platinum. And I do have it here. This is my dad's. And yeah, it's pretty cool. There's the set list on the back there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, pretty much all the old classics.
Yeah, they played Heaven Can Wait. They usually don't play a lot of songs from Somewhere in Time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just noticing Heaven Can Wait is track number 11.
Yeah, Heaven Can Wait. Yeah, Run to the Hills. Yeah, a lot of the old school stuff on here. Iron Maiden, Moonshine, The Clairvoyant. So yeah, that's that. Yeah. So let's see. Metal themes. Yeah. Yeah, cool. And yeah, it's got the inside. I don't know where it is. Where is it? Somewhere it's got some of the I don't know how well that is gonna. Yeah, some of the, it's like a little mini booklet. It's got some pictures from all the shows. Oh, that is pretty cool. that's worth showing.
Oh, it's cool.
Yeah, and yeah. But on the there's the documentary and then the concert, and I'm pretty certain every single song is recorded from a different part of the world. So like every show or every song, I mean, is from a different show. Yeah. Right. Okay. So that's it for the 2000s. Now we're going to move on to the 2010s.
Okay. So in 2010, they got ready to release another album with Kevin Shirley producing again. The Final Frontier came out on March 4th. There were 3 singles: Final Frontier, El Dorado, and Coming Home. This was a little long album. I know it's like over an hour long. One of those progressive ones. To be honest with you, this is one of probably my least favorite of the modern Maiden era. I think this one never clicked with me a lot, but there's some good songs in there. I like Isle of Avalon, that's a good one, and I like the singles, but that one I never really liked that one that much, but it's okay. But it was successful. Hit number 1 in 20 countries or worldwide, so it's pretty big. Number 4 in the Billboard 200 in the US, so that's pretty good for Maiden. So it did do very well. Okay, and so again, Maiden goes out whenever they release a new album. They do a big tour. So this one they visited some new countries: Singapore, Indonesia, South Korea. They ended the tour in London in 2011, and then they actually won Best Metal Performance in the 2011 Grammys for this. Actually, was the single, I believe.
Yeah, El Dorado.
Yeah, El Dorado single.
Yeah,
Grammy.
I've just got the track listing up here. Yeah,
that's cool. And then they started headlining festivals, Rock Worcester, Rock Slide, Nova Rock, a couple more I'm not going to say because I won't be able to pronounce them, but many countries throughout Europe. I'll just say that. And then in March 15th, they had a new compilation, Somewhere Back in Time. Actually, that was like to a company, Somewhere Back in Time, called From Fear to Eternity. That was another live album. They usually release one album and then they do a tour, then they release a live album. That's pretty much what they've been doing.
Yeah.
So they had that. They had another one. I think that's the one you had, En Vivo.
Yeah.
From Chile.
I can show that one. Yeah.
So that one came out on January 17, 2012.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool because I actually read there was at one point when the country of Chile didn't let them tour, because of the whole satanic things and all that. But
yeah,
it's pretty cool that they toured. They eventually played Chile. So anyway,
yeah,
they had a DVD come out. Is that the DVD, right?
Yeah, DVD. Yeah.
Yeah, and it comes with a documentary, right? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's all about because they play a lot of tracks from the Final Frontier, and I got this before I listened to the Final Frontier, and because I didn't know a lot of the songs, so I thought I might stick this. So I watched this, and they played a lot from the Final Frontier, the title track El Dorado. No, that one's not on it. Oh yeah, it is Talisman.
Yeah, El Dorado. Talisman.
A lot of them tracks, but I listened to that. I watched this before I listened to the album, and this actually made me want to listen to the album because I thought them tracks were pretty good, especially the first 2 songs. Final Frontier and El Dorado, probably the best 2 songs on the album. Or
Yeah,
two.
yeah, I do like those songs. So,
Mm.
okay, so that's cool. They now going into 2012, we're in February. They continue to tour again. Made in England World Tour 2012, 2014. Then they released another video of that. So then they continued. They had a really big concert at Donington Park with 100,000 fans. So it's a pretty big show. Then they did Rock in Rio in Brazil again. And they played Paraguay in South America, which was their first show in that country. And then they did another like they called like an Arctica style tour, like called the seventh tour, where it's just like this whole like frozen tundra kind of like backdrop, and the whole all the props and everything like that. And then they continue with the Made in England World Tour. And then let's see, so let me move up ahead. 2013, they did a collaboration with Robinson Brewery. They released a beer called Trooper Ale. Actually, I have some empties, so those they're not at hand. I probably should have remembered to put them behind me. So, yeah, they put out a beer, and pretty much that was another successful, like, pretty much side business, because they sold a lot of beer. So that's probably a good idea for metal bands to come out with a beer line. Yeah. So anyway, let's see. Now going into moving into the Book of Souls. So I mean, the next couple of years, 2013, 2014, 2015, they were recording Book of Souls. They were touring, and after that, so they announced the Book of Souls in June 2015, and then Book of Souls came out. So let's see, when did that one come out? It came out in 2015, in September of 2015. So that this album, it's kind of surprising. This one I have. It's hard to believe this album's 8 years old.
Yeah.
Or almost 8 years old. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So anyway, this one I bought when it came out. I actually bought the booklet version, which was a pretty good price, which would be I'm trying to think how much I paid, because I bought it in Mexico. So it would be maybe less than $20, which is cheap, because the one for Senjutsu was really expensive. It was like around the $50, but that one I didn't buy. Yeah,
that's fair enough.
And it's the same thing for Senjutsu. It's the same type of package with like the book and the artwork. But it was really expensive. That's why I didn't buy it. That's why I only bought the standard DVD, which I'll show in a minute.
Yeah.
So really good. The whole theme of they call it like the Mayan or Aztec, which was kind of like based on a lot of cultures from South America, Mexico, and Latin America in general.
Mm-hmm.
This is I like this album because it's long. Probably the best songs. The first one's "If Eternity Should Fail." It's a great song. "Speed of Light." That's a single. I like that one a lot. I really like the last song, "Empire of the Clouds." It's a long song. I think it's about like 18 minutes long, but it doesn't feel long. It's just like really, Bruce like plays the piano, and it's just it's a really good song. That's like one of my favorites. So, so that's this of Book of Souls. Then they continue to tour. So let me move around. Actually, let me also mention that the song like "Tears of a Clown" was dedicated to Robin Williams, who actually who died around that same time. I think it was prior to the release of the album. So
yeah.
So again, they went on a big tour, the Book of Souls World Tour. Played 35 countries, North, South America, Asia, Australia, pretty much the whole world. And first performances in China, El Salvador, and Lithuania. So pretty much Iron Maiden at this point has been like in almost like every country almost. So
pretty much.
So they continued with the big tour, and then they released another album called Book of Souls, a live chapter. That's the one you have, right?
Yep, I've got it right here.
You have the book one, right? As the
Yeah,
book
yeah. Opens up like
these are cool packages.
basically the same as yours.
Yeah,
and,
but it's the album was live, right?
Yep. And here it's got again similar to Flight 666. They've got each track is from each country, and it tells you like where, like what each track's from.
Yeah.
And actually, I'll tell you what. I've had this probably, I can't remember how long. Probably, I think I got it for like Christmas 2018 or something. I've not watched it or not listened to it. I've not listened to it ever. Like, it's been like 5 years. I still haven't listened to it.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I'm looking at the set list. I think I will now because I'm a lot more versed into these songs now.
Yeah.
Really good. It's actually a pretty good set list on here.
Okay, that's cool. Let me continue.
Carry on.
So in summer 2016, they released a mobile game, Iron Maiden: Legacy of the Beast. They released a pinball game in 2018.
That's pretty cool.
It was a game on mobile phones. I never played it. Maybe someone has played it, but that's pretty cool. What? No,
I've not played it. No.
Okay. And then Legacy of the Beast World Tour. So they began in Europe 2018. Rock in Rio again 2019. Oh, yeah, that's the shirt. You saw that tour, right?
Yeah. That was my first time seeing the band.
Okay, that's cool. So they went. This one I actually missed it. They did. I remember they did come to Mexico at the time. I didn't get tickets because I was working a new job at that time and I couldn't get off. So I missed it, but I did get to see them on the next tour, which I'll talk about in a minute. So then 2020, the COVID pandemic, concerts get canceled, rescheduled, and we all know how that happens. Then they released another live album called Knights of the Dead: Legacy of the Beast, live in Mexico City, which I actually didn't go to because, as I was saying, I was starting a new job and I couldn't get off. They played in Palacio de los Deportes, which is a venue which is pretty close to me, not too far. I've been there. I actually saw Metallica there in 2012. But anyway, and then they, moving on, 2020, 2021, they released the first single, The Writing on the Wall, which was the first single for Senjutsu, which would come out on September 3rd, 2021. I like that song a lot. Writing on the Wall. It was different. They had that more of that acoustic Southern kind of feel. A lot of people didn't like that song. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool as well.
Yeah. So then Senjutsu, like I said, I didn't get the book version because it was very expensive. It was around the $50 range. So this one, I bought this one instead. It was maybe between the $15 and $20 range.
Yeah.
No, this one is definitely cool. I enjoyed this one a lot.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, some cool artwork. And Senjutsu, this was a popular album. And so let me just move on. Again, more touring. Got some awards, Rolling Stone. The Legacy of the Beast tour, they continued, and that's the one where actually, let me stand up. I have this is the concert I went to last September.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's cool.
Which was the last Maiden show, actually the last concert I saw it.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool.
And that was back in...
artwork looks awesome.
Yeah.
They've always had great art, though, haven't they? Throughout that
all the art's great.
Yeah.
I'm actually interested. I'm wondering if they're gonna release a live album of this tour. They usually do, but I haven't heard anything about that.
They probably will.
What?
They probably will.
Probably will. So again, more interesting stuff. They were finally like nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but I don't know how true this is because I'm reading it off Wikipedia, but it said that they didn't accept the nomination, or like I don't know if that's true. Maybe someone can confirm that. But
I'm not sure whether. Well, I remember seeing it. I remember when I was doing my notes. I remember seeing it.
Yeah.
And yeah, that they didn't want to accept it or something to do. Hold on, let me find it. Where is it? Yeah, here we go. Yeah, they received a second nomination. However, the musicians and their management did not accept the nomination and boycotted the opportunity of appearing on the awarded art with the awarded artist. Yeah, so they. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's understandable. They got passed over like so many times. So I think at this point they're like, we don't want it.
Well, yeah, that's probably it. Like they should have probably got it way before a lot of other bands. To be fair,
yeah, bands like the Foo Fighters and Rage Against the Machine, which I like, but the Iron Maiden should have got in like a lot before, earlier than
they should have got in. They should have got in before Foo Fighters even started.
yeah, they should have got in back in the 90s. Yeah. So that's I guess that's all I have.
Yeah.
We want to go into the final portion of this before we close the show. Talking about the future of the band. I'll give you my thoughts.
Yeah.
There was a big thing that I think they mentioned something about they were going to retire, not tour anymore, but I think that it was kind of exaggerated a little. I think they were just saying is that they're getting older. They're going to reach a point where they're not going to have the energy to be running around on stage all night. So they're going to probably like stop touring at some point. They didn't really say next year. They didn't say, in 2 years. I think they just said that, they're getting old. These guys, I guess they're in their 60s. I don't know if Steve Harris might even be 70 for all I know. But they're getting older, but they didn't say they're not going to record. They might record another album. They might do more live albums, but I don't think they're not retiring anytime soon. So that's my thoughts. I don't know if you what anyone else thinks you can.
We'll put it to you guys in the chat, and also I'll make a clip of this. So if anyone's watching the clip of this, put it in the comments as well. What you think as well. We're just gonna quickly go through some of these. Ridiculous that they wasn't inducted decades ago. Yeah, I know. That's what we were thinking. Like they should have been put in ages ago. Thanks, man. Yeah, we put a lot of work into this one, so I really appreciate that. Okay, fair enough. Whatever. So my thoughts on that. Basically, the fact that they're getting a lot older now, and they're probably going to start slowing down. But I have a feeling that they'll probably carry on touring. Probably not in the same way as like Ozzy, where we'll probably just carry on, and like we had with that discussion where he'll probably carry on till he passes away. I think Iron Maiden will probably carry on touring until they literally physically can't do it anymore, and they just think, you know what, because they set such a high standard for themselves as well. The minute that standard starts to drop, is when they'll probably think, right, we can't keep this level up anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe we should start thinking about maybe doing like one more tour and then calling it quits. You know, go out, because that's what I think. Well, that's what I think about when I think about Iron Maiden. They literally set such a high standard for themselves with their shows, and you know, with everything that they do, pretty much. So I'm just kind of thinking to myself, like, the minute that they start dropping from that standard is probably the day when they decide like they're going to stop. But I think between now and that time, they'll probably just carry on. They probably won't do massive world tours like they have done, even though I'm pretty certain they're doing a tour, because they're playing in London in July. Fortunately, I'm not going, but yeah. I think they'll carry on touring, but probably not to the extent that they have done. They might do one more album. I mean, they don't have to. It's not necessary. But, I mean, for all we know, maybe Senjutsu is going to be the last one. We don't know. But
I mean, I would think making an album is probably easier than touring, you know.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like when, you know, these singers get older and, you know, they still want to make music because that's really all they know what to do. I think we're going to get more solo albums, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I heard that Bruce is working on a solo album, and I think we have Smith Cutson. They'll probably do something else. So I think we're going to get more solo stuff.
Yeah.
As opposed
Steve
to
Harris as well. Steve Harris has that band called British Lion as well.
Yeah, that one too.
So, yeah, he'll probably carry that on as well.
Yeah, we're going to get more of that because that's also a different, you know, they play different types of music. In my, you know.
Well, yeah. Smith Cotson's like blues rock, and British Lion's sort of more like hard rock, old school metal.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, that's something that I didn't think about, that they probably would like.
I mean, yeah, I find a lot of like the aging rockers, you know, people like these vocalists who have been in like either Black Sabbath or Rainbow or those older like early 80s, 70s bands. They end up like doing these different projects, and you know, because it's just maybe like they get older, they're slowing down, they're interested in different stuff. So yeah, I think we're going to see more of that. Yeah,
definitely. I'm just going to go through a couple of comments, what some people have been saying.
Yeah.
So yeah, Simon said, I think they'll have another album out by 2025, possibly. I mean, you never know. You never know. They might do another tour and then think, should we just do one more album? Let's, you know, put one more album out, and then they might do one more tour, and then they might call it quits after that, because that'll probably be like 2027 by then.
Yeah.
And you know, you got to think, if they're like in their mid 60s now, they'll be sort of early 70s then. You know, who knows what might happen between now and then. Yeah, slow down. Yeah, they probably will just slow down from touring, to be fair. Maybe it'll be their last for a while. Yeah. Well, maybe. I mean, they have been doing a lot of, you know, Adrian Smith and Steve Harris. They've been doing their own solo projects. Bruce is doing another one as well. Will be Money in the Bank. Yeah, that's true. Well, that's it. You know, they sell out every time they do a tour. They sell out. So, I mean, that would be. I mean, they would probably get one massive earn if they did decide we're going to do a farewell tour and retire. They would literally, every show would be sold out. Every show would be sold out, because it's like last time see Iron Maiden ever. You know, I'd definitely want to go. I would definitely want to see Maiden before they retire. If that's one more time, then that's one more time. But yeah, I definitely would love to see them again before they retire.
Yeah.
They should do a cover album. Oh man,
They've never
maybe.
done one, right? Yeah.
I don't think they. No, I don't think they ever
No.
have. So yeah, that'd be interesting. So the last album we're ever going to do is a load of like, I don't know, whatever covers, probably a load of 70s rock bands, I'd say. Depends on how you. Oh yeah, but I mean, have you seen them running around the stage? They still like. I know 2018 was a couple of years ago now, but still, when I saw them in 2018, they've still had so much energy, running around the stage, and you know, like they're still in their prime, and they're still killing it live as well, man. Yeah, it would be. It probably. I think if they did a farewell tour, if they announced that they're retiring, they're going to do, you know, one more tour, every show would be sold out. You know, they probably would make the most amount of money from a tour ever in the history of tours. Okay.
I don't think I heard that one. They have a really good cover of "Cross-Eyed Mary" by Jethro Tull.
Oh,
I think it's actually better than the original. Yeah.
nice. Yeah. Yeah, they have taken good care of themselves. You know, that's especially like Steve Harris, because he's a big football guy as well, likes playing football. He kind of keeps himself fit and still likes to play football. UFO. Okay. Cool. Off topic. I think you asked that before.
Oh, the most graphic Cannibal Corpse album. I'm not like the biggest Cannibal Corpse fan. I would say like Butchered at Birth. That's probably the most graphic album cover.
So. Yeah, I'd say so too. Right. Okay. So I think, unless no one's got anything else to add, we'll probably leave it there for the stream. We've pretty much covered everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a pretty decent discussion about what we think about the future of the band as well. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely like look it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll listen to it later.
Yeah. I didn't show it. The reason why is because I wanted to keep it more for the discussion about Maiden around that point, because I wanted to make a clip of it to put out on the channel in the future. But I mean, we got to the question in the end. Yeah. Cheers for watching, Mikey and Simon. Pretty much there. Yeah, pretty much been watching throughout the whole stream. So yeah, we'll probably call it a day there. Yeah, I hope that if you watch this during or after the fact or whatever, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you want to see another one. We'll probably do Slayer next. And yeah, thanks to John for joining me for this. And yeah, thanks ever so much for watching. Until next time, keep it metal.
All right.
Cool. Cheers. Cheers, everyone. Bye.